Yes, Tanya, thank you very much. Look, we were submitted some questions, but I'm just conscious of time this morning. But I just wanted to address some of them, and the ones that we haven't and won't have a chance to look at, we will get some sort of written response up and put it up on the landing page with the recorded webinar and the videos that Christina mentioned earlier in the presentation. So I am going to pose the first question to Christina Cortez. And Christina, can you answer this for me? In which sectors and countries are UK regions experiencing most trade success, and are there any new ones to watch?
Well, thank you, Nadine. It's a great question, though. I'm going to start by saying that, frankly, when you're looking at 1% of the LATAM market being penetrated by the UK and a little bit more than that for Northern Ireland itself, I think all sectors are potentially open because we really haven't got off the ground yet. That said, I'm not going to duck the question. I would say that in terms of countries, again, it depends on your size and your product. But I'm going to say a word of caution here, which is that the big obvious markets, and this has been said already, like Brazil, like Mexico, also Argentina, I would say falls into that category. They can be quite uphill. So if you're a big company and you've got the time and patience, they're not a bad start because they've got the big market. But really and truly, you know, countries like Peru, like Colombia, like Chile, they are better ones to cut your teeth on, to be perfectly honest. They are still pretty stable and safe, but at the same time, and they've still got the opportunities there, but it's easier to get down on the ground. In terms of sectors, there's still lots of scope in what I would call the traditional sectors, the ones where there are representatives already from the UK, or there has been involvement in the past. So, you know, oil and gas is an obvious one, mining is another. But, you know, I'd spread your wings into the sustainable energy side of things because, as others have indicated, the appetite's growing there. Infrastructure, again, is one that we have been very heavily involved. If you go back a century or so, no reason why we shouldn't be again. And indeed, you know, we have got some footholds already on the transport side with supplying buses, for example, but also on the sports infrastructure side. So I'm thinking Pan American Games here. We had a heavy involvement in that more recently. Agritech is another area where traditionally there has been some involvement, albeit relatively small. If you look at new sectors, I'd say anything that's digitech, absolutely. There's a huge appetite for that. That's been indicated already. Likewise, security. I mentioned the cyber side. Lots of challenges there, and therefore lots of opportunities for those with expertise. But also in other areas that might be a bit more surprising. I mean, food and drink. I mean, frankly, there's not as much trade between the UK and Latin America as there should be. There's lots of scope for a sophisticated consumer market this end to work with the agricultural products that end and come up somewhere in the middle of the supply chain and do some decent business together. So lots of opportunities I would see there, barely exploited. Education is another one. UK's got a fantastic reputation for education. Online modules is an obvious one. That's one that I know some people are already looking at. But we barely started on that one either. But the reputation the UK has in Latin America on the education front is huge, well worth exploiting. And other perhaps less usual ones, fashion. Unfortunately, we had the Biennale for fashion design and other design areas was postponed from this year because of lockdown. We're going to be repeating it next year. We're certainly involved in that. That's another area where, again, I think there's quite a lot of exciting potential all over the creative industries, and fashion is part of that.
Tina, thank you so much. That was great. So I have another question here, and I want to put it to Chris and Tanya both to answer together. So this is, when is the best time with the current COVID situation to make the first move in these markets? Now when it's quiet, or leave it to 2021?
Shall I start, Chris?
Go for it.
I think that in our case, you know, we understand that COVID-19 has changed and will change the buying patterns not only for Latin America but across the world. Latin America is not the exception. Nevertheless, we speak to importers every day, And the general perception that we are having is that it's business as usual. Potentially, we perceive a more focused approach on looking for specific products or services that follow global trends. For example, healthy options in terms of food and drink, but that also have the right equation on cost, perceived value, and differentiation. I think potentially the challenge for not only for exporters but also for importers is that there will be a lot of pressure on price negotiations. You know, most of our importers have been very clear that price today is very sensitive, but I think that it has always been. However, they are more conscious and more careful on the decisions they take when buying products. But as I said, I don't think that that's a Latin American trend, but a global trend. I don't know, Chris, what is your perception on that?
Well, I would my sort of answer to the question would be very much now. Why wait? I think three thoughts. Firstly, COVID is creating new opportunities, and you really want to grab those while they are fresh and people are looking into the market for the first time, and you want to be the first product or service that they come across. Secondly, decision times across the region, and I think this is true for most if not all of the countries across the Caribbean and Latin America. Lead times are long, decision cycles are slow, things take time, and you know, if you wait 6 months or 8 months, you're just adding it to the timeline. Really, it will take time, and you will need to build a relationship, and you may be trying to shift an incumbent out of the market. So the sooner you start, the better. And finally, now some companies are hesitating about engaging with customers, and that means you have space to get yourself known, and you have the opportunity to engage with customers who are not being battered with approaches from your competitors. So no better time than the present. I would get on with it.
Thank you, Chris and Tanya, for the answer there. And then I just want to close off the questions with this final one for Christina. So no pressure, Christina. Just the last one. Is it better to import hardware from the UK, from a UK-based company through a Brazilian partner in regards to tax implications and costs?
Hi, Nadine. Yeah, quite a specific one there, but I think what I would, in this case, what I would do is I would kind of echo what we've all said about doing your homework, speaking to partners, speaking to the chambers, because that hardware might be very, very different. In this case, it's Brazil, but if it's different, is that whatever material that may be, that will have different implications. So I would do your homework, speak with the chambers. On the gov.uk website, there's an excellent page of starting to export outside the EU, and this gives you some excellent steps for thinking about getting an ERI number, getting a license, finding your goods commodity code, because those things, those will really help you decide what you need and what you need to export. Also, when you're thinking about markets, you know, so look at markets where we have a double taxation agreement in place. Brazil isn't one of those markets, but Colombia, we have that, Panama, we have that, Chile, we have that, Argentina, we have that. So that, and plenty across the Caribbean. So think about what mechanisms are already in place and how you can benefit from the local market. It may be that you need to work with more local suppliers because that's building up capacity and ensuring that if it's part of a bigger program, a particular public procurement, that you need to involve a certain element of local. So is that a way you can do it? So I think I would definitely, I'd kind of push that back and say, really get into the nitty-gritty of your homework. The details in these points really matter, and this is when speaking to an expert like the chambers can really support you in this matter.
Look, thank you, Christina. I'm going to leave the questions there. We weren't able to answer all of them, and there has some that has came through on the webinar. We know who you are, and we'll be in contact with you directly, as well as uploading the answers to the questions we haven't used. So for our webinar is almost finished, and I would like to thank Christina Cortez Christina Irving-Turner, Chris and Tanya for presenting today. We have tried to get through as many of your questions as we could, and we hope you found this session useful. The questions and answers we did not answer we will put online with the written response along with the recorded webinar. Please also visit our website nibusinessinfo.co.uk with the latest guidance, advice and FAQs. To receive updates from them, please sign up for their newsletter on nibusinessinfo.co.uk. If you want to be notified with the latest events, news and support from InvestNI, then ensure you sign up for our 2-minute update email newsletter at investni.com/newsletter. So that's it for today's session. I would like to thank you all for attending, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.